Very confusing. As the Democratic 2020 candidates prepare for the second primary debate, President Trump's re-election campaign is reportedly preparing to roll out a Trump app to engage with supporters. We know, of course, social media has been key to Trump's success, played a key role and a controversial role in his 2016 campaign.
Two reporters who have examined President Trump's 2016 run in their book, The Method to Madness, Allen Salkin and Aaron detail what they call a carefully planned bid for office that may have been set in motion as far back as 1999. They join us now. Allen Salkin is a media, business, and culture reporter. He's written for several outlets, including Vanity Fair and the New York Times. Aaron Short is a journalist for the New York Post. He's reported on the president's political aspirations for over a decade. Welcome to you both.
Thanks.
Thank you for having us.
So we've got the method to the madness. Aaron, let's start with you. New York Post. You've obviously, that's Trump's hometown paper. He's been reading. He still reads it religiously. What is it about Trump that's always aspired to higher office?
He's been, a lot of it came from his father and the political aides around him. His father introduced him to the New York political class when he was very young, and then Trump sort of grew to have a taste of that. He also liked seeing his name in the paper. Most real estate developers in New York, they sort of play behind the scenes. They don't like being in the press. Trump loved Page Six. He fed them constantly. Blind items often. He would just, if he's at a party, he would call in and would say, this is the model I'm dating. This is my date. This is the woman I'm having sex with that isn't my wife.
The worst.
Yeah. That's,
Sorry.
But he liked seeing his name in print. And so, Allen, what is it that you brought to this book, the analysis, that you thought was most interesting about Trump?
Well, I think Aaron brought a lot of great inside sources. He has, Roger Stone, Sam Nunberg. We have 114 on the record, non-anonymous sources in the book, and it's so unusual that we were able to accomplish that. I've written a book about the Food Network and a book related to Seinfeld. So I have great sources in the media world. So I was extremely interested. I also came from the New York Post in the 90s and interviewed Trump back then about the branding that he was doing, leasing his name for buildings. And that really starts sort of in the late 90s is what starts this run towards 2015 when Trump explores the 99 Reform Party in 99 and 2000, the Ross Perot's party. So I bring a lot of the media knowledge, and I wrote about vaccine. We had sources behind the scenes at The Apprentice, and Aaron has great political sources, and together, dynamic duo.
So it seems to me like every time the president does something outrageous, stupid, obnoxious, whatever, there's someone to come behind and explain why this is really genius and it's all 4D chess. I mean, how do you guys view that? Is it 4D chess? Like, let's take these latest comments. Congresswoman should go back to where they came from, and then his rally crowd is chanting, "Send her back." Like, is that 4D chess?
There's a madness to the method sometimes. Yeah. And he has trained himself to trust his gut, and he tests things out on crowds. There is a method to that. We actually quote somebody. Steve Bannon told us that Trump is a scholar of Carl Jung, the psychoanalyst, who teaches people to follow their gut. Now, as far as the racism that was in the news right now, we do have an Apprentice producer who talks about Trump using the N-word behind the scenes while tape was rolling, audio tape, to explain why he was hiring Bill Rancic, the white guy, instead of Kwame Jackson, the black guy, in season 1 of The Apprentice. So there's all kinds of inside baseball there, and Trump's, whatever his real beliefs are, do sometimes come out, but we really do make the case. I don't think you can read the book and come to any other conclusion than that he was planning this, he had great advisors, and this was deliberate.
And was birtherism part of that plan?
Absolutely, and this is the playbook that he's using right now. It originated in the birther conspiracy that he was peddling back in 2011. And he would hammer that point into the ground that he believed that Barack Obama wasn't born in the United States, and you're going to see more extreme things that he's going to do with these 4 congresswomen. He said he was sending investigators to Hawaii to dig up Barack Obama's birth certificate.
I remember that.
So, this is the start.
He didn't just say he was sending them. He said they were there, looking currently.
Sources, Jerome Corsi was over there digging.
So what do you expect? What is the next level, given what you've learned about him, what you know about his history, and how he operates? What should we expect this election?
Well, this is in a way a practice attack probably on Kamala. He is, because she is the one he hasn't really directly attacked yet, and I always compare him to a boxer. And even that there's a pose of him at that rally last night, and he's like a guy or a wrestler in a uniform that is that giant suit that he never has altered, and the red tie. And we can expect him to test his opponents, to jab them when the referees aren't watching, to hit people below the belt like he did. We have great accounts. Rosie O'Donnell's in our book talking about how he attacked her. And he'll prod his opponents, figure out their weak points, and then attack hard, repeatedly, using social media. This is a guy who learned Twitter in his 60s. And we have the guy who taught him Twitter in the book, too.
Interesting.
So what's the one thing that we need to know, final thought, about President Trump going into 2020?
Yeah, Donald Trump has been driven about the presidency for 2 decades. He thinks of himself in the same way as someone like Al Gore, George W. Bush, any of the people that he would have run against had he had the path been open for him. And I think we wanted to treat him as a historical subject, as someone who is as an equal to a lot of the power players that we have in Washington here. And really no other book has done that. Also, everyone's on the record, so you can see everyone's biases. You can see how they project their loves and fears of the president. And that shapes their story, too.
Well,
Very
we appreciate it,
interesting.
gentlemen. Thank you so much.
We're all still trying to figure this guy out.
Yeah.
Really appreciate your help with that.
Yeah.
Next up on Rising, Team Rising's going to weigh in on that Greenville rally that we just referenced from last night.
And our panelist, Roger Fiss, asked if the president is still the leader of the free world. We're going to talk about that when Rising continues.